All right. I can't get over myself in these glasses. I feel like I look like a batty old woman.
They're the blue light blockers.
Yeah. They just, because they are slightly yellow, I feel like your reflection on the screen, it just makes your eyes look really weird. So the world's normal, and then all of a sudden, everyone just looks like they're a little bit ill.
Yeah, I got my blue light ones were big, like thick, round ones. I think they're in the other room.
Oh, I wish you had them on. We could be like proper cool. I hope this stays in the podcast. I hope like people really do get a feel for.
Oh yeah, this is the start.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Cool. Right, so today we're going to run through some questions from you lovely people. Let's go with the first one.
Okay, question number 1. I'm loving this. I feel like this is like an official podcast now because this question, like, right, this is it. Okay, so question number 1. What is the importance of spreading protein throughout the day? This is new to me. I've successfully lost weight before and just hit my 70-gram protein target with little thought about when I had it. Could have easily just been in 1 to 2 meals. What's the benefit to more servings?
Okay, cool. That's quite nice introductory. You said there was questions on protein, so that's good.
Well, there's about 10 protein itself, but it's cool.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll just label this episode all about protein.
Okay, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So basically with protein, when we're in sort of a fat loss phase, it's not so much of an issue for sort of general population, but if we want to maintain muscle mass, obviously the role of protein is to cause muscle protein synthesis, help rebuild tissue and help us grow. Obviously in a fat loss phase, it's not going to be so prevalent in terms of growing muscle, but it's going to help preserve that, as well as that kind of aspect, which when we're in the fat loss phase is not so much of an issue. When we're in a muscle building phase, that becomes more important, spreading this out. But as well as that kind of aspect, we've also got then the satiety satiation side of protein, which in a fat loss phase becomes more important, because spreading that out, we're going to feel fuller and not have so many sort of cravings and reaching for food at every sort of given opportunity, because everyone who has gone through a fat loss phase knows how much the hunger demons hit.
Oh my god, absolutely.
So that's I would say my kind of simple answer.
Yeah.
Have you got anything that you can think to add to that?
The only thing I'd add on top of that is kind of following on from the satiety point of view. We've also got, in terms of maximally stimulating muscle protein synthesis. I was reading, I think it was Emma's post the other day, but it's off the back of a study that essentially, it was off my nutrition course. An ideal amount of protein is going to be like 20 grams in a serving. That's going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis quite well, but it's only like something like a 10% increase if you go from 20 grams to 40 grams. So just in terms of like, if you are somebody who maybe doesn't have the highest amount of protein, so when we're talking like smaller, more petite women, if we're going based on like grams per kilogram of body weight, their total protein actually might not be that high. It's probably for some of those people going to be worth looking at 20 to 25 grams per meal, 3 to 4 times a day, rather than just any whacking great servings. And you're just going to do yourself more of a favor in a variety of ways, I think.
And from kind of my understanding and past kind of research as well, with that, it's going to depend on quality of protein, which will depend on, again, then how much you need to maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis, because that then sort of breaks down into the aspect of, okay, what are the essential amino acid profile and complete amino acid profile of those proteins to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. If you've got a good quality source of protein, then that lower end is going to be fine. But especially for anyone that is on, for example, like a vegan diet, those protein sources aren't going to be complete protein sources, probably going to have a lot of lower leucine levels, which is going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis more. So that's where that kind of variance comes in. But
Funnily,
to
this
be
came
honest,
from one of my vegan children.
yeah.
Yeah. How topical.
But you do go down these sort of little rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But as a general rule for most people, as long as you're splitting your protein intake pretty evenly through the day, probably between, I recommend sort of 4 is a good marker, because most people are used to eating 3 meals a day, and then they're probably going to have snacks around that, so it's easy to fit in a 4th kind of serving of protein with that.
Right.
If you're really trying to optimize like any aspect of your kind of diet to each degree, then you could probably push 5, maybe 6. Beyond 6, you're probably going to have diminishing returns, and the serving is going to be quite low, so you probably, and who wants to be eating that often?
Yeah, I've got a friend that eats like 9 to 10 meals a day, and to me, I don't really see the point, really, because at that point you're never really hungry. And we, like, especially for our clients, we want them to be aware of their hunger and fullness signals. So for as much as we don't want them to be starving and chewing their own arm off, we do want them to actually be hungry, like, and look forward to food, not just be eating for the sake of it.
But you start to not recognize those hunger signals, and even down to things of like smelling food as you're preparing it, because if you're eating 9-10 times a day, you're going to have it all prepared, and it can be very much grab it, eat it, and carry on. You're not going to have like the preparation, smelling it, like getting sort of salivation and ready to eat. It's kind of become forced. So
okay, I like that. I feel we've done that question some justice. Okay, following on from that, really nicely, actually. I think this is from the same person. What's the importance of complete protein sources? Why does it not just matter that I've hit my protein target? In terms of complete protein sources, they contain all 9 essential amino acids. And like Luke said, there's going to be certain plant-based sources of protein that perhaps don't contain as much of certain aminos, one being leucine being the kind of most prevalent in stimulating muscle protein synthesis. So as long as you get a good spread of them throughout the day, it doesn't have to be complete in every single meal, but ensuring that you do get a complete range of proteins, then you're pretty golden, really, aren't you?
Yeah, that's pretty well put.
Thanks.
On that point, like if you are having incomplete protein sources, that's when you can start to try and pair different sources of food together to try and get a more complete diet, with the incomplete source of protein. Exactly. That's the one I always remember as well.
And then beans and grains is another one. So like whole grain bread with baked beans ultimately just legitimizes beans on toast for me, and I'm like, yep, perfect. There we go. Okay, question. I don't know. Oh no, hang on. No, we're going to break this up. So this is a training related one. If I don't get my 4 training sessions done in the week, how do I go about catching up? Should I do double sessions? No. I would say no, personally. And again, I think we're potentially going to have differing opinions on this. I think this is one of my clients, and I think I will normally say to them, don't bother, just do it at the next available time. Or potentially, if you've got a session that's more heavily weighted, say, towards upper body, and your next session that might start your week would be lower body, you can add on a couple of exercises and split that kind of 4th missed session across the other 3. But I would say only do that if it's kind of opposing muscle groups or lower versus upper body, not like adding more back onto an already heavy back day, for example, especially if you're in fat loss, because you're not going to have as much energy. So ultimately, any session that you add on or do later on is potentially not going to be as, I was about to say profitable. I was thinking, no, where's the money making in that? Active, that's the word I wanted. So yeah, that would be my standpoint.
Yeah, I think it depends on what your phase of training is and on the individual as well. Because obviously if you've got four sessions in a week, you're probably going to be maybe like an upper lower split, something like that.
Yeah.
It would, at what point in the week do you know you're not going to be able to hit those sessions? Could you take it to a, not necessarily doubling up on the sessions, but is there potential to take that session into more of a cyclic rotational program? So instead of being like, okay, I have just these 4 sessions I have to complete this week, but run through the sessions in a cyclical manner. So you just carry on and then have towards the end of your training phase, in end of that sort of mesocycle, it might go into that sort of next week, and then you have just an extra day into that week, if that makes sense, that you're cutting your deload week down to 6 days in essence. But this is where I think it depends on the person and what is going to suit them, because I think some people get very stressed in that manner of they'll start to have to kind of chase their tail, and the next week they might not be able to get those 4 sessions anyway. So that's where you're going to start to lead yourself down a bit of a negative path, because you're constantly going to be chasing your tail, constantly thinking, oh, playing catch up. And there's no point trying to double up the sessions if they're very big sessions anyway. And depending how what that split is. So I think it is dependent on the individual and where you are within your training. Again, most people, missing 1 session isn't really going to matter in the grand scheme of things, especially if you're fat loss phase. You're probably going to have enough volume within your week to maintain muscle mass. If you're struggling to hit 4 sessions on that sort of general path, it might be a case of reassessing your structuring and having, I call them like floater sessions. So change your programming to 3 days a week, but then have an optional optional 4th day, which is your floater. So, but that can be a lot of like assistance stuff. I know.
Yeah, that's quite good. It takes off the pressure, doesn't it? Because you know that you're not losing anything if you don't get it in.
It's just bonus work.
You've got 4 sessions. Does it matter if 1 rolls over? No. Because then if you know your schedule is going to ease up and actually you then think I can get 5 done next week without compromising myself, then cool. Rather than getting too stressed out. But like you say, unless you're training for a competition, does it really matter if you miss a couple of sets? Not really.
And if you've missed a session for certain reasons, the likelihood is that it's through some kind of lifestyle stress that you've had to miss this session. So trying to then bolster on additional, like trying to fit 2 sessions into 1 on there, is going to be more stress than you could handle. You could assess what is in that session and take some kind of key components out of that. For example, if you're like a general gym goer and some of that session was calf raises, for example, you don't need them. Like you can get rid of them, but maybe do
upset a lot of boys now, Lou.
but maybe do your quad dominant work that was in that session. And take out some of those forearm curls from the next session and do a bit of a mix match. I miss a session.
Take out my forearm curls.
Okay,
perfect. Right, we're back to protein now.
Okay.
This is a short and sweet. I bet you can answer this in 1 word.
Okay.
Are eggs a good source of protein?
Yes.
There we go. That's that one.
But linking into our earlier one, complete source of protein, cheap, very biodiversity available. Is that what I'm trying to say? And tasty. like very versatile within your diet. Like you can scramble them, you can fry them, you can have them in a sandwich. Like you can just put them on top of a random meal. So
YouTube channel for how to cook an egg. No, perfect. Okay, next question. God. Right. What are the best protein bars to buy and where from? Have you got any preferences? Because I feel like this is quite a divisive topic.
So my kind of view on protein bars they are an additional nice to have in your diet. If you're struggling to hit protein intake, focus on the main components within your diet anyway. So try and focus on where you can input protein. You might be able to do some meal prep, but if you're got reasonably higher levels of protein targets to hit, and for example you've got 3-4 like good solid meals with complete proteins in there, is the questionable quality of an extra protein bar really that important? I don't think so. I think just find one that you enjoy the taste of. And to be honest, like I do like grenade bars. I think they're tasty, but I wouldn't put my all of my protein intake to that.
No.
As long as the rest of your diet is solid, then the 20 grams of protein that you're going to be getting from that, I think it's I think
that's the thing, isn't it? It's good if you've got a lot of calories to use. So if you're somebody who's on a higher amount of calories, whether I don't know, you're at maintenance for a bit, you're in a surplus, I think they're a lot easier to fit in. I wouldn't necessarily say to prioritize them if you're on like fat loss calories, especially not if you're a woman, because your calories are going to be typically a lot lower than the boys, which is quite sad. I tend to have them, like there'll always be one in my car or in my gym locker or in my bag, because if for whatever reason I have to skip a meal because I don't know, a client's running late and then I choose to fulfill their session anyway, for example, or get caught out, that's when I think they can come in handy, because I'd rather eat that and know that it's something that has got protein in it and it's pretty cheap, rather than stressing myself out or buying a sandwich that I actually don't really like. But that you've got to take into account the carbs and the fats in them, and for the amount of protein. If you can get yourself some chicken, some salad, some veg, etc., you can have a much more filling meal for the same or barely many more calories. So they should be a priority.
I think that's what a lot of people miss. They tend to think that the protein bars are a staple of the diet. It's like, no, it's just something that's a little sort of bolster on. If you've got the calories to spare, you want something tasty, you want like a little bit extra, just don't put your all into them. They're not anything magic.
And you want to eat everything. Yesterday I had a permanently hungry snacky day, so I did have one then, and it actually sorted me right out. When you want something that's chocolatey, but like a chocolate biscuit, you're going to eat 8 of them without even thinking about it. I turned to my old self and went, have a protein bar. And I did. And I must admit, grenade ones are fabulous, but my protein are upping their game. I will say they're doing pretty well. And they're layered protein bar, the mini egg Easter flavor.
I've not tried them. You can get some half decent ones around. I don't think there's a lot of difference between them.
No, they're all competing for the same market, aren't they? Kind of the carb that came out. My Proteins is a carb crusher. The PhD Smart Bars are just another variation on.
Fulfill bars, they're quite nice as well.
Delicious, really. I'm enjoying this.
That's the thing. It like at the end of the day, it's probably going to be what's on offer. What you can get cheaper, because they're not the cheapest thing on anyway. No. So if you're making an order and something's on offer, I'm a stingy bastard. I'm just like,
Heard it here first, ladies and gents. Luke is stingy. That's why he likes it.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So continuing on the protein theme, what other ways can protein be added into my breakfast if I don't like powder in my oats?
I don't really like powder in my oats either. I
Right,
went through a
can we
phase
set
of
a
like I
different
had
day?
some like it's sometimes yeah, sorry, go.
See, I can't cope. The first time I tried to put powder in the oats, it went grainy and I heaved a lot and binned it.
Yeah.
There are people, and there's a girl I follow on Instagram, and she actually she did a little like reel of her making her oats, and she puts a scoop in it. Now I can't work out if it's the powder that you have, so the brand that she's got, maybe it works, but I did it with a My Protein one, and it was the worst thing I've ever tasted. So I mix it in a separate bowl with a little bit of water to make a thick paste,
Yeah,
and then put that on top. So that's how I recommend to do it to my clients. Like if you're going to do protein,
depends how you're making it, because
yes,
some people will like microwave the milk and the oats and then add it in after. Like, so if you mix the powder in with the oats and then just use hot water from a kettle and just mix that in, then it doesn't. But I found like some proteins do go a bit grainy, some don't. But I like oats on their own, and I was like egg porridge with some like raspberries and like Nutella or some dark chocolate in there, and that's great. And I just have a protein shake. And
so you've got options: protein shake on the side, mix it with water and make it into a paste, or don't have it at all.
Yeah, but in terms of like other sources of protein, eggs, bacon, I like to use like medallion bacon, just like reduces a bit of fat. Chicken sausages, Greek yogurt or like Icelandic yogurt. Again, what's on offer? Whatever's cheaper.
Oh my god, yes. Aldi do the most insane range of protein yogurts. They've got a tub of like their skyr yogurt, like the 500 gram like plain version that's nice, or the single pots that are flavored, and they're actually made with like quark, so soft cheese. 25 grams of protein, and each pot is 75p, which I rate very highly.
Yeah.
To have that with some fruit and cereal or whatever.
It's easy, tasty to sort of grab and go. Like the great
potatoes, omelets. I mean, it's carrying on the egg thing, but anything you like.
Yeah. Really. Obviously, going back to the egg debate.
Yes.
Obviously, there's the big yolk or no yolk question.
Oh yeah.
And to me, it like end of the day, it just depends on what fats you've got available for the day.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
If I'm going into a diet, I'm normally just add more egg whites. If I'm not, I tend to like cut them out and just have like 2 eggs or something. But like if I'm having like egg whites, like just scramble it or make it into like a big omelette and just add other stuff on.
Yeah, agree. I'm enjoying this. It's making me want breakfast foods for dinner.
Breakfast foods are available any time of the day.
They really are. I used to come home from work, and if I hadn't had dinner and it was too late and I couldn't be bothered, like 8 p.m, I'd have porridge for dinner. Those were the days. Especially when I was in a surplus and I used to get 100 grams of oats.
Yeah.
Oh, felt like a winner.
I'm an avid believer. There is no time restrictions on any time of food.
I agree.
I've had steak for breakfast.
Yeah.
I've had all sorts. I just like, if I fancy it, I'll eat it, whatever time it is.
I love it. Okay. When do you think is the best time to train and why?
Oh, good question.
Do you have a preference on when you train?
My preference kind of changes. And through kind of the years, sometimes it can be dictated on what other things you've got going on, because a lot of people, most people have to work. So like that takes up a work. Yeah, what's that thing? I don't know. But that takes up a big portion of the day. So you've got either before that or after that in your lunch if you can, but again, like you might be a bit restricted for time and showering. Let's just say like before or after. And that is going to then be dictated on how long you've got to, like if you have to commute to London, for example, like what availability do you have to train. In terms of if there's no restrictions, like for example, me at the moment, there's no restrictions.
Yeah.
I tend to prefer earlier in the day,
Agree.
because towards the evening, I'm just getting kind of tired. I'm getting sort of lethargic, want to relax. I'm sort of winding down into the evening. I don't want to be, I was going to say, I don't want to be getting aroused, but
Wow.
whatever.
Sorry,
Sometimes
Sarah.
you need to. But mentally
Yes.
stimulated.
Mentally stimulated. That's a better word.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
No,
like
no.
early in the day, just more awake, more kind of ready. But sometimes I don't like to train too early, because then I can get sort of tired after training. And to be honest, like I generally work out like middle of the day, just because for me it breaks up the day a bit. I'll do a big chunk of work sort of in the morning doing stuff and sitting down on the laptop most of the day. Then I'll sort of train and get out and have a sort of break in the middle of the day, and then come back and do more work. There's no real this is better than that. I know there's some kind of research in terms of looking around sort of joint readiness for training. And in terms of like looking at like fluctuations of hormones through the day. Again, I think that's a bit inconclusive. I think the biggest takeaway is to just do it at the same time of day, because you'll find rhythm with that, and you can use that comparatively going forwards, because you might feel better in the morning compared to the evening, but if you can only train it in the evening, then that doesn't really matter. Like that's the time you've got to be able to train. So stick to that and build your habits around that, because that's what's going to make the most sort of progress for you, is building your nutritional habits, mentally getting ready to train. You'll find that if you're training at the same time each day, you'll fall into a bit of a flow that you start to get ready for that session then.
Perfect. I'm pretty much on the same wavelength. I prefer training earlier on, but when I was on the gym floor, that would be anywhere from starting at 7, 8, 9, depending on clients. But in a gym, I'm either first thing, then start with clients, or do a couple and then train. I can't do it after like 5 or 6 clients, because I find that I'm too mentally drained from work. A lot of my best energy is then being given to that, which is great from a work perspective, but then I really struggle to find focus, or by that point I'm too hungry and it's really hard to fit meals around it. But I've been training a lot later actually recently at home, like around 2 o'clock, but again, breaking up the day, maybe going for a walk earlier, then doing some work, then having lunch and then training. But I guess as long as it works for you, there's no point forcing yourself in any one direction. Like if to start work on time, you have to train at 5 a.m, but you really don't cope very well with getting up that early, then don't bother, I think.
There's all these kind of leading questions that go on from it. And you could look into the fact of what the session type is. If it's like a higher volume kind of hypertrophy style session, you want to make sure you got like a good level of carbohydrates consumed within that. Strength probably doesn't matter so much, but again, like that's just gonna depend on everything else. So
perfect.
Cool. Next question.
Big one. Oh no, wrong one. How do you fit 10 to 12,000 steps into your daily routine?
I don't.
I was about to say, do you aim for a step count?
I used to. I used to. It's kind of fallen off a lot more sort of recently over kind of like the winter. It's not been as great, but obviously now I've got Riley, taking him out for walks, so that's gonna be like a daily dedicated time just to kind of get steps in. It depends on what kind of phase I am of training. If I'm going into a diet or trying to be more concise with everything, I'll start to usually aim at like 8 to 10,000. Because again, most of the day I'm sitting on my ass, so it's very much I have to get steps in. I'm not just kind of walking around generally that is going to just end up around 12,000. Like the steps that I do, they're purposeful steps. So that's a good chunk, 8 and 10,000. So cool. Again, I think in terms of like the research, as little as like 4,000 or 5,000 is just good for general health. And that's just can be like a little 20-minute walk, going having a stroll around, finding that into a bit of a routine, whether you're office space and going out for a little walk at lunch or like morning after work, just to kind of clear your head, get a bit of space, relax a little bit. That's probably the easiest thing. The one thing I do now, kind of like subconsciously, is in normal times, if I'm going out somewhere, like I don't like look for like the closest parking space to like the shops and things like that. I'll just try and walk to places. I'll pop out, walk there, and it becomes a habit more than anything. Because I feel like I need to walk around, just try not to be lazy. But I think it comes down to pretty much, just being more thoughtful about, okay, I'm just going to go out for a walk, listen to a podcast.
Yes. God, I realised until lockdown started, I'd go for the occasional walk, like because I work in Chatham, would walk around St Mary's Island, but I did a lot more like in between clients, just because of ease. I'd just walk on the treadmill for a bit, or whilst I was waiting for a client, I'd walk on the treadmill, or I'd finish off all of my strength training sessions with anywhere between 15 to 40 minutes on the cross trainer. Like my kind of routine was split around that, and I'd always leave myself a 2-hour training window. So depending how much time I spent faffing on the gym floor with weights would then dictate how much cardio I did. But then I realised very quickly, lockdown hit, and I was down to about 3,500 steps a day. I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't realise just the habit of like walking from the car to the gym, from the changing rooms to the gym floor, across the gym floor, back again, putting weights away, picking them up, all of that silly little stuff. With only 20 minutes on the cross trainer, I could hit 12,000 steps in a day. So then I literally had my bum fused to the seat in the first month of lockdown. But now I think I've been on a walk, especially actually since autumn, like every day. That was my last kind of proper diet phase. And the last one just before Christmas, I think I nailed it. I don't think I did under 10,000 steps any day. But I
say you've been quite hot on your walks.
I honestly, my walks are great. Like they're my admin time. They're great if you've got a job around like social media or you need to get back to people. Like I'll voice note my clients, I'll ring my mum, so I do my life admin as well. Ring my dad. But I've just started recently going out for a walk at about 7:30 in the morning. And because I don't have a defined 9 a.m. start time, I can get 10,000 steps done before kind of 9:15, which is fantastic. Because I've extended my step target. I'm aiming for 12 to 14,000 as a non-negotiable at the minute.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely sort of start lockdown, like went out for a good walk every day. It's only been sort of like, say, over the winter kind of dropped off a bit. And last kind of couple of weeks, my walks have been just walking around the garden with Riley, just like trying to get him to do a poo. Yeah.
Oh.
And then it starts raining and
he's not a fan yet, is he? Bless him.
No, he's not.
Right. So ultimately, as a succinct, how do you fit 10 to 12,000 steps in? Intentionally go out for a walk at least once a day. Silly things like go to a toilet on a different floor, park further away. If the ad breaks on, walk around your living room. If the kettle's boiling, don't go sit back down. It's basically forcing yourself to stand up and move around at any point where you would normally be sat down.
even if you're like I say on the phone to someone, just kind of stroll around the garden. Like it's just mindless little things like that.
Yeah, and you can do it quite easily, I think. It just takes a bit of time. And for all my clients that are listening, I do not care if you text me and tell me it's raining. Put a coat on. Get an umbrella. The amount of times I coach my best friend, and she's the worst. She's like, yeah, I'm not going for a walk, it's raining. And because I'm more brutal with her, I'm like, can you suck it up and get on with it? Because I'm not having you not hitting your step goal. That's the only time I'm a cow. Right. What happened? Oh no. Why is sleep so important? My God, we could talk about that for hours.
Oh, big question. Yeah.
Huge.
Well, it's I don't even know where to start with it.
Oh my God, right.
Yeah, go for it.
The reason I'm going to say sleep is so important is because when you are well rested and well slept, number one, you are a nicer human to be around. I don't know anyone that is delightful on less than 5 hours sleep.
Oh no.
So you're a pig to live with. So prioritize going to bed. But also that's when your body does most of its recovery. So if you've had a hard training session, your muscles need time to recover. Your body needs time to recover. And your sleep is your best time for that. I think partly because you're not actually doing anything else.
No. So many biological processes happen when we sleep. Like we're recovering, we're growing, we're developing, we're resting our body's systems. Like it's half of what we do. We're either awake or we're asleep. Like it's fundamentally important. If you want to do anything well while you're awake, you need that downtime, you need the rest, you need to recover. Your body craves sleep. And it's probably one of the best things you could do to focus on and improve to help you move forwards.
And then you've also got the fact that if you're tired, you're irritable, you're more likely to crave highly palatable, high carbohydrate, high fat foods. So you fall face first into a bag of donuts. You eat one, you eat three, you're still no more energized, but you crave that energy. And from a dieting perspective, it can be a kick in the tits.
And what happens if you go face first into a bag of donuts? You're going to go into a carb coma and fall asleep anyway. So just sleep before the donuts.
Anyway. And also, as a slightly tongue in cheek, if you are dieting and you are hungry, when you're asleep, you're not eating. So get a bit more sleep. It helps. The next question on the back of this actually is what happens to your weight and body if you don't get enough sleep? Well, there's the cravings aspect. I think we're much less in control of our emotions and our cravings if we're tired. But there are links between obesity and lack of sleep, aren't there? There's a study, I think the control groups with it was like 5 hours sleep versus 8 hours sleep.
I think so.
And I think that might be the one that was related to fat loss, but ultimately the people that had 8 hours sleep lost more body fat and I think maintained more lean muscle. I want to say.
I believe they did.
Thank God I'm not talking out my ass for that one. So ultimately, sleep is king, ladies and gentlemen. And coming from somebody who used to get 6 hours sleep on the regular and thought she was okay, she actually was not okay. And I'm a much nicer human now. I now is most nights, unless I get hit with insomnia, and then I'm awful. And I do notice a vast difference in my behaviours the next day. Like if you're tired, you don't want to go out for a walk. You don't want to train. You don't want to prep your meals. You basically will avoid doing anything else that is productive to your life.
Sleep deprivation is literally a torture technique.
It is, isn't it? They like that one.
Yeah. And you start to see some crazy things happen as soon as you're sleep deprived. So if you want to be sane, get some goddamn sleep.
Get some sleep, people. Okay. How can you fit 5 to 8 portions of fruit and veg in your diet if you're fussy? I actually think this might have come from one of my clients. I'm so upset. Oh my god, my clients know that I am an absolute demon for pushing them on the fruit and veg. Like, other coaches might be like, just hit 5 portions and we're okay. I don't rest until they're getting 6 to 8. I like to believe that we're all capable of being better.
Definitely.
In the government guidelines.
I assume the fussy, picky aspect is in terms of liking fruit and vegetables.
I think so.
The biggest thing you can do, in my perspective, from that is learn to cook. Try different ways of making vegetables palatable. Like, find things that you do like. That's the best thing. You can then look at other different aspects of that. So if it's, for example, making a side dish specifically that's vegetables in something that you like, that's one aspect. Or try to incorporate it within a meal so you're not necessarily noticing it. For example, you could take, like, if you're making like chili or like something with beef mince, you can blitz up like carrot and onions, and it takes on that texture of the beef mince. So it becomes in with that sauce, but it's gonna be flavored of the beef and everything, the spices and everything you put in there, and you're not really going to notice it. So there's different, if you can improve your culinary skills and improve like the flavor of the food that you're doing, you're going to be able to do it and not taste it. If there's particular fruit, vegetables that are kind of neutral to your taste that you don't mind, opt for those. Don't try and like force yourself to eat things that you don't like. Like, there's a lot of different fruit and veg out there now. It's not like we have to eat the stuff that's grown in our garden. Like, we can get lots of different varieties of things. So find the stuff that you do like, try different things, make a massive list of all the different fruits, all the different vegetables, and just go through trying different things and trying different ways to cook it, prepare it.
I love that.
And if there's a specific way that you like to eat the vegetables, for example, if it's steamed opposed to roasted or whatever, try them in that kind of way, and just find stuff you like.
Perfect. I'm not going to add anything onto that.
No?
Delightful.